Hello, 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 my fellow coders, and thanks a million for coming back to join me, Lilly Code, on my 100 Days of Code journey. Today I'm on day 57 and we're just continuing to build out this meal app. So thanks so much for joining me. I want to show you my cool t-shirt. I love this t-shirt. Nerds will be nerds. I'm a little old nerd. Yeah, so it says while successful, or while not successful, sorry, this little exclamation mark is a not. So while not successful, try harder. Keep running that loop. Just do it till you're successful. So that's today's message. And let's get into this, guys. So look, as always, honoured, privileged and blessed to have anybody here who's watching me. I just really appreciate it. It's absolutely fantastic. Please do like and subscribe if you like the content so more people can hopefully see it. And just because it really makes me really happy. As well. So we're going to get on with what we're doing here, and we are currently looking back at our meals application, and we have just managed to retrieve the meals from the back end because we had a big problem yesterday. All day we were looking at it, and basically the thing that was missing was the ON. So we just had JS, and that was our big problem. But look, big problems are often little ones. We just perceive them as large until we figure them out. So there's a lesson for not just code but for life as well. So take it easy, take a breath, enjoy the ride. You know, that's part of it all. So anyway, enough life lessons from Lilly, who is just here coding. Like, you know, these are just all my ramblings, but I hope my ramblings help somebody someday who's having a bit of a down day and needs a bit of rambling and a few encouraging moments. That's why I ramble, because not every day are we always all happy, and if someone some day isn't having a good day, I want you to know that you are loved and you can do anything you put your mind to. So keep that in mind, okay? Now, back to the code. So as always, I'm just watching the video for the moment and just checking. Okay, yeah. So now we're just going back to this error. So now Max is exploring this. Funnily enough, had we have got here just before the last video, we would have saved an hour. But it's really hammered it home for me, that it's not JS that we're getting, it's a JSON. And that, something as simple as that will have you running around in circles and your thing won't be undefined. And I was thinking it was further down. I mean, it had to be above here. I should have just looked at this line. But you live and you learn. So fantastic. We've learned something from it. And oftentimes you look back at your errors, as I said, and they're just always small things. So just keep on going, guys. Just keep on going. Yeah, so basically if we just reload here now, we will have an error. We never get rid of this content is loading. We see that we can't get back our response here, which is totally understandable because we've provided the wrong URL. So that's why I couldn't connect to the database. I was all over the shop trying to figure this out yesterday. But now it all makes sense. So, okay, great. So Max said that a customer isn't going to come and look in the console, so we should show the error on the page as well, so they know, okay, well, it's not just loading, we actually have an error. So we're going to display the error back on the screen so the user knows something is actually wrong and isn't just hanging around waiting for meals. They can go off and get their meals somewhere else, which is a really bad user experience, but better that we inform them. So let's do that. Cool. Okay. Okay, so we're going to add a third state management here, and this is in order to track the error. So we'll say const error, we can call it error, or he called it HTTP error. So, just for consistency, so I don't get confused over something silly in a moment, we'll say HTTP error and then set HTTP error. So the second parameter that comes into these use state is always a function that you set the first variable that you have defined. So the second is the function that we use in order to change the value of the variable that we first defined, the HTTP error. So you just include set before the name because we're setting this variable. Coolaboola. Let's move on and use state here. because we're going to use the useState hook in order to track the state of this error. And initially, I'm guessing initially it should be false, because we should presume we do not have an error, or maybe we should presume we do have an error, and then as soon as we get through everything successfully, switch it to true. But let's see what Max thinks, because he is un experte. I just made that up, sorry. He's an expert and I'm still learning. Okay, cool. So he didn't pass any value. He said we'll just start off with blank. It could be null if we wanted, but the error may not be a boolean. You know, we want the error to actually be the error as well. So it would be incorrect to set it as a boolean, because that's just an on and off flag. We need it to contain a bit more information. So we'll just pass it nothing for the moment, and that should be okay. Cool. Yeah. Yes, perfect. Yeah, so then we're going to do something very logical here. So once we get our response data back, what we want to do, well, we can actually do it even before this, because when we get our response data here, we're already relying on the response, this await. So we've already trying to await this fetch, so we can add it after this. So if the await fetch is something goes wrong, so we can say if we do not have response dot okay. So this is a parameter on the response object which tells us whether or not the response successfully completed, and if it didn't, we won't have that. So if the response was not okay, then we can say set HTTP error to true. We do have an error. Awesome. So okay, so Max actually did something different in here. This makes sense to me. We probably will do that somewhere. You know, we're going to use that set HTTP error to switch something on and off, to switch on and off the HTTP error, to change the state of that variable that we're tracking. But what he's actually done in here is he's just thrown a new error. So throw new error. So this is an actual error that we can utilize in JavaScript and just say something went wrong. Something went wrong. And we could add more detail to this as well if we wanted. Sorry, itchy nose. If we wanted, so we could do that. So I'll just save and then let's continue. Okay, so if we throw it as an error up here, if we come in here and the response was not okay and we decide to throw an error, it won't then continue to execute the rest of this function. So throwing an error must be similar to returning. You just, you know, right, we have an error, there's no point in continuing, which makes perfect sense. I just guess until it was explicitly said like that, I didn't necessarily think that or think about it. But yeah, that makes total sense. So we'll keep watching. Nice. Of course. Yes. Yes. Great. This makes total sense, guys. Hopefully it's going to make total sense for you too. So basically we have this fetch meals asynchronous function. Yes, which is within a useEffect. The useEffect function itself is not asynchronous because useEffect brings back a cleanup function. So we don't put async await on the useEffect itself. So therefore we defined an internal function called fetch meals, which is going off to the database. It's performing an API request, a fetch request, to get the data stored at this particular URL, which is our meals.json. But we want to keep that error there for the moment, so we're passing the wrong URL in. If this response is not okay, we're going to throw an error, which means it'll come out of here. And if it is okay, if we have got the response, it will continue down along the chain. We will assign response data from our response.json and create this new variable. And then we'll loop over that and add it to this empty array loaded meals, just to change the way we are viewing and storing that item coming back from the back end, rather than just taking it exactly as it is. We want to push it into an object in this format, so that's what we're doing there. Then we come down and we set the meals, which is just, we just have a meals variable, and that's set to the loaded meal. So then we can use that outside. We have that meals there, and that's what was pushed into this loaded meals array. And then we turn set as loading to false, because we're no longer loading. What we can also do down here is put this, and then down here we call fetch meal. So we haven't actually called this whole function yet, you know, we call that further down. So we're just defining it all, then we can call it, and it comes back in and runs that function when we actually call it down here. So what we can do is add a try catch block. So we will try to fetch the meals. In the case that something goes wrong and it comes in here, there's an error, it says the response wasn't okay, it just ejects out, then it will come back down here, it ejects out of this function, and it's done the try, and then it will catch. So then it can catch the error that was caught during the running of this function. So we've thrown the error down here, we catch the error, and then we can now set is loading. So set is loading, yeah, to false, because we're still not loading anymore. You know, we don't need to load anything. There's an error, there's nothing to load. So we can still set is loading to false, and we will also set our error, which was set HTTP error. Here we go, and we can set that with the error itself rather than a boolean. So we set this to the error. So now we have the error saved in HTTP error, and we've stopped the loading of the page. So super duper great. Or actually, rather than just the error object, we can do a dot and assign this to the actual error message, because the error coming back contains a message within it, so we can access that with the dot notation. Yeah, the error object has the message property. Cool. Yes. Yes. Cool. So what we're going to do now is, rather than display this is loading section, in the case that we have an error, so we'll just do something similar. We will say if HTTP error, so if that's true, if it's truthy, then we want to return an error, and the error we will return is our HTTP error. So we can just put these inside our curly parentheses, because we're not just sending out some static piece of text, we're trying to link this back to something that we've defined up above. So you do that with these curly brackets, and then we will say HTTP error. So awesome. And now let's see. And actually, rather than just having this meals loading, we can add another class just for best practice and call this meals error, and create this class, because we haven't yet created this. So we'll come back to our generic CSS file that's there. Was that not where it was? No, it was in the module. So we actually have, I thought it was in the overall CSS file for this whole project, but we do have a specific module.css file that's explicitly linked to the available meals component. So we'll actually put it into the tightly related CSS component that's sitting right beside the available meals, because that's just where it should go. It's specific to this component. But had we not have got this, I thought we just had all of our CSS in a global file for a minute, but we don't. So that's okay. So all I can do is copy this name. We need a dot because that's how you access class names in CSS, and yeah, in the module.css fashion as well. You use your dot just to access the class name that you've assigned it, and then we can do something similar. So we'll still align the text center. We will make the color red though, and I think I'll still make the font size slightly larger because it's small. So there we go. Cool. Cool. So that's all he did, and then he saved and reloaded. And let's see what's going down in the town. So we have a problem here on line 17. Something went wrong. Oh yeah, that's the error we've told it to use. So okay. Unhandle rejection. Something went wrong. Available meals. JavaScript line 17. So if we go back here to line 17. Yes. Alright. I do want to throw it, but like, let me continue. So fetch meals. Something went wrong when fetching the meals. Yes. So I'm just not really sure because we know something has this new word seems to be a problem. Have I used the correct terminology there? I think so. Throw new error. Yeah. Do I need to import error? Throw new error. Does this need to be brought in from somewhere or something? Let's just have a quick look at an example of throw new error on the internet. I'll just say React and just see what comes up, to just see that we're not doing something mental here that's incorrect. So I always just open up a ton of files, even though I probably should focus on one at a time, but I'm going to do that anyway. So okay, in the past, errors inside components used to corrupt React's internal state. Oh, well, that's not good. And then have cryptic errors. Okay. Oh. So what React version are we using first of all? Because it looks like they've changed the approach to errors in 15 and before. So if we're in 15 and before, I'm going to just continue because I presume Max's tutorial is in 15 and before, and just focus on what could be going wrong in this code. But if we're in a 16 plus version, well then perhaps this I don't know why it should just still work, but we'll have a look here. So I'll just do React V. I don't know if this is the correct command, but generally if you're looking for the version of something, by just typing in the name of it and either a flag V or flag version, you oftentimes, that's actually the command that is required. So instead I'll just Google find my React version, and actually I could have just done this through my package.json as well, but let's just follow this now. Is there not just a command I can run? Oh look, console log react.version. So let's try that. So we should have React imported from React. And just in here, when our component mounts, I'm going to console log out my React version, and I'll also add this in my parentheses, in my quotes, because I love having a string to see what's going on. Why did I do that? Mamma mia. Sorry, don't mean to offend anybody. Just me having a laugh, as always. No offense given, so none can be taken. So then I'll just go back to localhost here and check this out. So React is not defined. Oh, we didn't import React from React. Cool. That's all right. So let's do that and just see, because I'd like to see this in operation, you know. So cool. Import React from React. Let's open up our console. This should be here now. Console. Ooh, baby. Cool. Okay, yeah, so there we go. We can see our React version is version 17. So maybe they've changed the error handling, because it seems like JavaScript errors inside components used to corrupt React's internal state and cause it to emit cryptic errors on the next renders. So what about if I close down my terminal and run this all from scratch? Will the first render be okay? And then will we have an idea of whether or not this has worked? Or so let's just shut everything down for a minute, because it does say in the past errors inside components used to corrupt React's internal state and cause it to emit cryptic errors on next renders. So what about the first render? Will we be in the clear here? Just to be sure, baby, I'm going to clear my cache, because, you know, yeah, it's not a bad idea. Let's just do some things here. Get rid of all that. That's okay. Let's just get rid of all of this as well. Yeah. Goodbye. Si, senorita. Adios, amigo. So we'll close off all that, and then I'll just get my npm start running again and see what's going down around the town. So cool. As the t-shirt says, guys, while not successful, just try again. No big deal. Try it again. So we'll get there, you know. Okay, so yeah, it's throwing that error, but I want to throw it and catch it. So is there something wrong with our catch block? There you go. It looks like it's just throwing it out and it's not catching it. So. Is this in the right place, you know? Yeah, this is where we should have it. Okay, so that is the right place for that. So catch error. Let's try and console log out here and see if, like, is it coming down here, you know? So console log error caught. And let's just do error. And then I can show you the message property on the error, just for a bit of crack, you know, bit of fun in our lives, looking at inside of errors. How much more fun can you get? This is like the least fun thing. No, look, you must find joy in all of the things, because it's the only way you'll be happy. So okay, so it looks like we don't have that console log. So let's instead console log something before our catch. We know it's coming in here because it's throwing out that error, but just to show you guys my thought process, and if any more competent coders are out there and have a way better thought process, thinking, you know, if she just did this, she'd be onto the right path, please let me know. Like, I want to teach people, and I also want to be taught. I am but a young Padawan, and I'm here to learn. So, you know, please do help me out if you see I'm doing something crazy. And really, on the whole, I don't think I am. So I do think it is a good learning experience for others. That's the truth. But, you know, you always feel you're doing the right thing when you're doing it. So I could be wrong. Certainly. But also, I'm not discounting all this learning for anybody watching. I think there is a lot of learning here. So, you know. Enough waffle, let's keep going. So say console log log 1, and this is response. So let's just throw out that response and see what's going on there. We probably won't be able to log it out because the response shouldn't be okay. But anyway, let's just leave that like that for the moment. And then underneath here, I'm going to log out a second console log. And I'm going to say error. I don't even know if we have the error here yet. Like, did we not set it later on? Yeah, so, well, that's a different one. So we still have this error object. So, okay, I think we actually can use it. So let's just try and have a look at the error if it's there. And then I'm going to include, so I'll actually make this 3. And I'll put one more inside this block here. And actually, once I throw, then it ejects out of this function, so it has to be before. So I'll say console log 2 and I'll just say response again, and we can check, what's going on there. Which, if it's not okay, then we'll find out about that, which it isn't, because we have the wrong URL first of all. Okay, so on line 24 we do not have this error. Cool. I wasn't sure whether we did. We don't. So I'll just get rid of that, save again, reload. That should give me an indication of something, I feel. But I ain't got no indication just yet. So we have our console log 1 here. We're getting back not found. Cool. We have 2. It's also not found. So it's come down here. It's come in here, which we did know that already. And then it has not logged out 3. So yes, it's just ejecting out of this function. And for some reason, it's not catching this bloody error. You bastard. We'll figure it out. Sorry. Shouldn't really use explicitories on my channel, but then I also think it's probably all adults, so, and if it's children, I'm sorry, maybe I just shouldn't swear, but I do say my content isn't for kids. I'm only joking, I just shouldn't swear. And if you are children, don't do it. It's a bad habit I've got into, and it's hard to shake, so be a lady, be a gent, don't swear. Don't follow my example, just with the code, not with the foul mouth. Okay. Cool. So if HTTP error, well, we're not getting down here. It's not coming and logging in here. So guys, what I'm going to do is, I don't see any difference between my code and Max's code. I don't even see anything wrong with this, It's coming in here, it's throwing the error. But for some reason, it's just not catching it. Let's Google that. React catch error. Error not working. You ain't catching my error. You ain't catching my error. So, error boundaries. Okay, and maybe look, to solve this problem, React users, React 16 introduces a new concept. So perhaps the functionality of this has sort of been changed. Okay. Yeah, so this new error boundaries. Okay, maybe we need to make this component, guys, and have a go at this. And do you know what? This is good, a good little practice anyway. So let's have a look. Let's close down some of this stuff. We're all over the shop. Let's try and handle the errors in the new way that React is actually promoting since version 16. So this is a good thing to practice anyway. So let's just see how we can do this. And this is how I would follow down through the documentation and implement something. So this is a good practice. So in the past, JavaScript errors inside components used to corrupt React's internal state and cause it to emit cryptic errors on next renders. That is no fun. Thanks for fixing React, guys. That is just cryptic errors are the bane of my existence. Again, we must find fun in all of the things, even error fixing. You just have to. These errors were always caused by an earlier error in the application code. I don't really think that's our problem here, but okay. JavaScript error in part of the UI should not break the whole app. So now we have an error boundary. I mean, this is all happening in the same component. So these are catching errors anywhere in the child component tree, logging those errors and displaying a fallback UI instead. I mean, that would be handy because at least we can see the error, catch the error, whatever it is. And because we've just set the error to something is wrong, if we go to all of this trouble, will we literally still just say something is wrong? And then I'll be like, God damn it. So I don't know. Hit the X to dismiss. You dismiss, boy. Okay, so something went wrong on line 22. Oakley dokely, oakley doke. Okay, so I'm going to just compare to Max's code to make sure there isn't something silly going on here. Let's do that first of all. So where we at, y'all? Where we at? Number 1, adding a form. Adding a modal, I hear you say. Oh, stop it, darling. So, handling errors, section 17. Oh, damn, we in 11. So I'll just open a new window. I'll open up 17 and we'll just have a little old look. Because, you know, put me at peace of mind before I start launching into big solutions that may or may not help, you know. So, and we have this luxury that we have this code, so you'd be mad not to use it, lads. You'd be absolutely bonkers. So even though it is the easy way out as well, but sometimes that's okay. We're sticking in our error, aren't we? So max 100 days. Here we go, chapter 17. Let's select that and let's compare this and see where we are at. Just like dancing. So, in fact, I love it. So we'll come back in here, go to our code. We are handling errors. This is what we're trying to do. So in our components, we have our cart. No, we have our meals. We have our available meals. And let's just check here, right? So useEffect, useState, meal item card classes. We haven't imported anything special to be able to use this error. That's inbuilt. You can just use that error. It's part of JavaScript as far as I know. It's not part of React. So we can just use that. That's fine. I wasn't sure whether maybe we needed to tell it, you know, use error and use it properly. So that's not the case. We have our HTTPR and our set HTTPR and we're using the state. I just have an extra console log in there. That's fine. Then we are fetching our meals. How come his looks nice and neatio? He's dropped this down anyway. I like it. I like it, Max. Oh, Maximilian. I like it. So we'll move that down there and then we have our if our response was not okay, throw an error. Cool. And then we're getting our response data. So I just have a whole lot of console logs in here messing about. That's okay. We have our loaded meals. We are assigning those via the response data that's come back and just restructuring it to a new format. Then we're setting our meals. Set as loading is false. We have the same brackets. Oh, what? Okay, well he has a totally different setup here, which he has not yet done. He hasn't yet refined it to this. He must be doing that now in a moment. But where's our try? Do we not need to say try? We just try it anyway, and then the catch is just like the next sequential thing. Oh, it's a sequential. So we do not have a try. You mustn't need a try. You just try it. You just do that thing. So you just run your function and then you can just add a dot catch even without the try. So just to say, guys, right, because we're doing the exact same thing here. I don't see what's wrong with my approach. I just don't. And so it is. So why do I always sing that song on this channel? So we'll copy our fetch meals on this channel, like I have a load of channels. So we'll just comment out my approach at this and paste in this other approach just to see will it work, you know. Not a bad thing to do. And then we have the bracket and the square brackets and our closing parentheses and our semicolon. So that's all good. Let's just indent these because that makes sense. This needs to go back one actually, and so do these. Let's keep it neat and simple and great and cool. Okay, so we'll just save that. User just like, that's not cool. So we'll just save that and go back to our browser. Oh my god, it worked. Oh, great. Look, we just have our error. So how come? What you doing to me? Okay, I don't know why this does not work. Because we should just be able to try and run that and then catch it. It's the same as just trying it without explicitly saying try it, which, you know, I was more used to this format. And then just doing a dot catch. Of course you can do that actually. Yeah. I gotcha. And then I'm happy it's working, but I don't really know why. So again, guys, if anybody knows why this approach works but this does not, please let me know, because your girl wants to learn too. So okay, cool, let's just continue. Should be delighted, you know, didn't get stuck for another hour. Cool. Cool. Okay guys, so fantastic. We have our error message showing down here. Something went wrong and we just needed to reframe or rejig the way we were doing this try and catch. I just went downstairs to get myself some water. I paused the video. It's water with garlic, a garlic, lemon and ginger concoction in there. But anyway, because you're probably like, that's water? But like, it is water. Garlic water, strange enough. Anyway, enough of that. I was thinking when I was downstairs making the water about my responsibility as someone creating content. So to say like, oh, my channel isn't for kids, you know, I can just swear, that's not actually on, because we all have a responsibility. I don't mean to keep harping on and lecturing you guys. This is just my thought process and me like thinking out loud, and you know, maybe I shouldn't have ever put a camera in front of myself. Anyway, I'm going to continue. I feel like it's my responsibility and everybody's responsibility to be positive people in this world. If you can, if you're having a bad day, that's fine, but we shouldn't just pass off the responsibility to someone else. It just reminded me of certain celebrities that they've done things in the past or they've created songs and put them out, and then they say, well, it's the parents' responsibility to make sure that the children don't see this content, which is true. It is true. But it's very, very, very hard to keep tabs on your kids all the time. I don't have any, but like I presume so. You know, you can't have eyes in the back of your head all day long. Parents think their kids are safe watching YouTube, and you just never know what your kids are looking at sometimes, and they could come across the wrong thing. So it is 100% my responsibility to watch my language and to watch everything that I put out there, because you know, it should be a positive influence on the world and certainly not something that's going to cause a kid to go back to their mum and say a bad word, or, you know, anything of the likes. So actually I take that responsibility back, and I'm going to actually watch my language, because fair enough if sometimes I swear, but I'm putting this content out for loads of people to see, so I should watch my mouth and my language and say sugar, you know, and, you know, just be more aware. So, you know, letting it go now, but I actually just thought that wasn't the correct response there, Lily. That wasn't the correct response. It's everybody's responsibility to make this world a better place, and that starts with the smallest and the biggest actions. Really, it starts with just small actions at home. So if you're going to put out content, be responsible. Perhaps, you know, up to you. You do whatever you like, but that's maybe how I just, on reflection, felt. So I'm going to continue on. Anyway, I'm going to continue on. That just did occur to me. So let's go. Perfect. So we do have our error state coming back now. We have our CSS class shown. Yes. Oh, so he just hadn't got there. Oh, right. So what he says is, if you use try catch within a promise, you can't do it within a promise because it will cause the promise to reject. Basically with promises, we just didn't do it the right way. So it wasn't the right way. That's why. So he's explaining this now, and let's keep watching. So the way we could have done it here is unless we also await here. Okay. Yes, and then that would mean if we want to await down here, we would have to change our useEffect function into an asynchronous function, which we don't do that because that's just not how we use useEffect, because it's bringing back a cleanup function. Okay. So the way to actually do this, because it is a promise, is to use a catch, and we could also have a dot then, which would say if successful, do this thing. But what we want to do is just say if there was an error, catch it for now. So it's because it's promises, that's why we shouldn't do it like this. So okay. Okay, so yes, this is the way that you handle errors with promises. You do a dot catch and then you catch the error. So you just need to do it this way if you're using it with promises, which we are because we were awaiting the response back. So it is an asynchronous function here. So therefore we need to do it with the dot catch. So okay, that's just the way you do this. That's the layout, the setup for handling errors with a catch block. So okay, cool. So let's have a look. If we reload, cool. Okay, so rather than something went wrong, perhaps let's put failed to fetch meals. So we know that there was a fail there, and we can get rid of these console logs so they're not just making everything mamma mia. Maybe we can just say mamma mia. I say that anyway. So we will just get rid of some of these console logs instead, and there we go, and we'll also get rid of this one. Oh, for flipperoo. I'm getting good at this. This is going to be a positive improvement in my life in general, because that foul mouth, it comes out. So well, it doesn't really, just little swears here and there, but It's supposed to be the sign of an honest person. That's why I don't mind it. But when you just don't know who's watching your videos, a bit of awareness is best, perhaps, for me personally. Not for you. Make your own decisions. I'll probably be swearing like mental now the next soon. But you know, being conscious is the first step to changing anything. So we'll change this back to meals.json, and hopefully then we should not catch an error, because it should successfully get our data and return it. And we, instead of seeing fail to fetch meals, we should see loading and then the meals. So let's see how that goes. Let's save. Oh baby, you're gonna load for me. Yes. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay, cool. So, great. Great. Okay, cool, guys. So now we're fetching our meals. We're getting it from the back end. Now we're going to work on the checkout and the order form. So this is great. We're making progress. Absolutely love this, you know. I just love this. So we'll get rid of this console log and delete this and save again, because we don't need to know the version, but that's so handy as well. Look, I'm going to take a note of that actually. So yeah, I just seen Nana posted an absolutely wonderful post. The lady that we had been following her courses on Kubernetes, and she posted a post about it's never too late to learn how to code, and just a big spiel about it. And I totally agree, it is never too late to learn how to code, guys. I've been meaning to do a video on it because people need to hear this message. Like, if you have any sort of interest, just get involved. So anyway, when I pasted there by accident, it happened to be the message that I had wrote to her. So absolutely splendid. We're flying along here. Great. Oh, what's this? Oh my god, he has a full cart and everything. Do we have a cart? We must have skipped that section. Because when Max clicked up here, he has like a pop-up containing the items in the cart. So I'll actually just watch for a moment, because maybe he's gone ahead to show us and I'll go off on a tangent wondering why don't I have this, and then he's going to go, and now we're going to build it. And I just didn't wait for long enough, like the error thing. So let me just watch and let you guys know. I might actually just pause this for a second so you're not watching me watch. Okay guys, super de duper, I know exactly where we are. I switched from chapter 11 and then went to chapter 17. So we just have a little bit to tie off here in chapter 11, and then we'll jump back to chapter 17. All over the shop. So we're going to create a new file in here, and this is called cart.js. So this is the bit that we were missing. So we're on a roll, we're going down the road. No, we're not, but yeah, so we just created our cart component, and we will define this like a normal function. So we have const cart is equal to la parentheses, la arrow, and there you go. And then we will export default cart, export default cart, baby. Cool. Perfecto selecto. And what's Max gonna do? Okay, so he's just doing what I've just done. And we're also going to set up a cart.module.css. So we'll create a new file, call it cart.module. Going to cough, uno momento, pause or silent. Okay, sorry guys, I am human. I don't know. Right, so cart.module.css, cool. And then we can then import this. So because we have the .module, that means we can give it a name in our component where we're using it, and use that name with object notation when we're calling those classes. So we'll just say import styles. Let's give it the name styles from our cart module. Cart module.css. And this should just be Yeah, like a so, like a so. So it's just grayed out because we haven't actually used this yet, so that's fine. And we're going to pass in props because we're going to want to pass things into this cart function. So we'll return a div. Ay, 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 mamma mia. Cool. Okay, cool. So we're going to return this div. This is our main div that's going to contain everything else within it. So in here we'll add another div, and another div. He's just going mad with the divs. So we're following suit. We're going mental with the divs ourselves. So great. And there's another div, and I'll just duplicate this a few times. I've set up my Visual Studio Code to allow me to go CTRL and D, because I used to use that shortcut in WebStorm and I loved it, and then I couldn't find it in Visual Studio Code, so I just added it in myself. So then we have our cart items here, and we're going to create, that should not be, oh yeah, it should be within the parent div. Everything coming out in this return statement needs to be held within one main level item here. So we have our main div. That's why we were getting an error putting it up here, because it's two items on the same level. Then it must be wrapped in a parent tag in order to return this JSX code. That's how you use JSX. So then within our cart function declaration here for this component, we're going to create a constant cart items. Coolaboola. We'll capitalize that. So right now we don't have cart items, so we'll just pass an empty array because we're going to have to configure this. Oh. Okay, cool. Cool. Okay, cool. So what we're going to do now is just hard code in an object here, which we will be getting back from the database shortly. But for now, we'll just set something up so that we can see this in operation. So ID, yeah, and we will make this ID C. Ay, 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 mamma mia, what you doing to me? Yeah. So C1 is our ID, and then we'll do a comma. Oh my God, what am I doing today? Who knows? Then we'll do a comma, and we'll do name sushi, and we'll do another comma and add a description. Ay, 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 not in the quotes, just like this. So description, because key value pairs, our name is description. And then we'll say, oh, we don't even have a description. That's all right. I'll just say delish. I love sushi. So delish, although after watching Seaspiracy on Network, my love for seafood has gone down, and actually we should probably be protecting those little sea creatures just living their life in the sea, and then they come to me on a plate, you know. How would I feel? Probably not great. I love rhyming. So $2.99 is the price, great. And then we're going to map these items. We're going to map these items. So I'll just do a dot map here to run over each of the items in this array, which currently there's only one. So we'll say for each item, what we want to do is transform it into a list item. So I'll actually just move this dot map down because it's gonna look a little bit better. So item, and then we have our arrow, and we want to map these into a list item. So cool. So we just say li. Let's take this away for a moment. We'll just give a list item. Then within here we want to add our parentheses. In here we want to add item.name, and then down here for our cart items we will display this cart items instead, which will be coming in dynamically eventually, but for now we just have this hard coded array with one object in it, and that's it. Cool. Okay, great. So what we can actually do as well is we want this list item to come out in an unordered list. So we can actually just do that up here. So we'll say unordered list. We want an unordered list. And then what we want is to then pass in this JSX expression, which will, you know, compute and send us back out the list item once we've computed that, and close our unordered list. So we'll have an unordered list with each of our list items in between it. So perfect. Okay, great. What else are we gonna do, Max? Yeah. Okay, cool. So we'll also just add a class name to this unordered list. Class name, and for this is where we're using this object notation is what I'm calling it, but probably maybe not the right term, but we're using these curly brackets, and we refer to our module CSS file that we have imported with a name. So we give that name, and then we can access any of the classes in that file with the dot notation. So it's going to be, or same as dot notation is these brackets, and we'll say cart / items, and that's why we're passing it in these brackets, because we're actually going to include the hyphen in there. So rather than doing dot, we will pass it in as a string. So then in our cart modules we can add this class like so, and that's how we access that then. And we'll just say color blue, just to have something in there so we get rid of our error for the time being. Cool. Okay, cool. So then we're going to beef out our divs in our return statement here in our cart. So we have the first div, and this div is going to be our total amount. So in here we'll add a span, and we'll just hard code in some information for now. So the information we're going to put in here is total amount. Cool. And we'll also have another span. So if I just do my little handy trick, duplicate this line, you can add that shortcut to your own Visual Studio Code. There probably is an inbuilt way. And then 62. So 3562, coolaboola. And then up here in our div, we'll add a class name, which is equal to styles dot, or styles dot total amount, or what's Max gonna call it? Total. Cool. So we'll just say dot total to keep it consistent with Max. Cool. Ay, mamma mia. And then we have another div, and this is going to be our button. So in here we will have a button and another button. So let's duplicate this. Cool. So here this first button is going to show the text of close, and the second button is going to show the text of order. So we can either close the cart, or we can go ahead and proceed with our order. So we'll add some class names here too, just to style these. This is just the CSS. So I'll say styles dot, or no, I'll pass in the bracket notation because we're going to do a hyphenated thing here. So therefore we need to pass it in these brackets with the quotes, and this is going to be button alt, and down here we're going to just have classes dot button. So again, we'll have our class name is equal to our styles, and this will be dot button. Cool. Super. We're getting somewhere. And then on our overall div up here, we're going to add another class name so we can style both of these buttons at the same time, and then we just have some specific styling for each of the buttons as well, which we've added just now. These two here, this is for this button, and this is for styling this button. So if we use this class with a dot in our cart module, we will be targeting that button to style. And if we do a dot button and put styles in here in the CSS, we will be targeting the second button, the order button. So let's just add those in. We do need to flesh these out, that's why we have these little errors, but that's okay, these squiggly lines. So this overall class name is going to be styles.actions, because these are the actions that we're taking in this cart modal. So coolaboola. Great. Okay. Cool. So we've set up our cart here now, and and we can get rid of this div actually, that's just floating around doing nothing. So we can remove that, and what we will actually do here is we can see we have a wrapping div, but how we want this cart to actually display, this is when we click this button here and we can see the items in the cart. How we actually want it to display is a modal that's going to overlay everything and just pop up above. A cart is going to pop up in a little modal, and then we can place our order from there or close the modal and just go back to continuing to order. So that's what we're going to do in the next video, is transfer this cart item, this cart component, to pop up like a modal, pop up over our application in an overlay in a modal, and we can interact with that then. So that's what we're going to set up next. So thanks so much guys, as always, for joining me. You know, I really appreciate it, and I just hope you all have an absolutely swimming day. It's always a pleasure, and thanks a million. Just thank you, have a great day. So peace guys, thanks.